All right, guys, so what I'm installing right now, this is known as a TDC whistle. Okay, so what I'm doing right now is I'm installing this into the spark plug hole. And what we're gonna do is we're going to hit the key in such a small way that it's gonna start, we're gonna use the same starter motor to spin the engine. Okay, so when we crank the starter, it's gonna move the engine in small increments. Once we hear this whistle, then we know the piston is already top dead center and we can remove it and begin our test. So let's go ahead and try that now. Otro. All right, what's gonna be is first we have to set it to calibrate it. So we'll go ahead and connect it to shop air. Once it's connected to shop air, I'm gonna use my regulator. And what I need to do is I need to set it to 0 or the set mark on this side. Okay, once we do that, we'll go ahead and lock it into place. Then the next step is we're going to connect it into the cylinder. So based off of what I'm seeing right now is my tester is telling me that I have over 80% loss of volume in this cylinder. Because this engine's not misfiring, I know this is incorrect. So what this is telling me is that the piston got pushed down because I didn't have it all the way up when I set this up. So let me go back and reset it, and then we'll go ahead and continue with the video. Always remember, if you can't get the engine to cooperate with you, which is what we're having now, you can always go down and by hand spin the crankshaft using the proper socket and ratchet. And hand cranking it by hand, once we hear the whistle, we know that compression or the cylinder's at top dead center, and then we can retest the cylinder. All right, so when you guys are looking at your leak down tester, always make sure that one, it's set to 0 before you guys connect it to the cylinder. And then also keep in mind that no matter whether this engine is brand new or has 150,000 miles, it's always going to have some sort of compression loss. The reason being is the piston rings always have what we call end gaps. So the end gaps always are gonna allow a little bit of compression to escape. So even though you guys can notice looking at the green section here, we can have up to a 40% loss and that's still gonna be okay. If you get an engine that comes right out of the box from the factory, you still might have up to 20% loss, which is absolutely normal. So now that we've hand cranked the engine and we have it all set up to do it again, we'll go ahead and connect it. We're just looking to make sure that this needle comes and stays within the green area. If it does, we know that this cylinder doesn't have any loss of volume. So let's go ahead and do the connection. All right, so when you guys do a cylinder leak down test, pay attention to your gauge. Your gauge wants to be within the 40% max, 0 to 40, indicating that there is loss, but it's in an acceptable range. Just like you guys can see here. So this right here is an indication that cylinder number 3 has no problems, no intake, no exhaust, no head gasket, or no piston rings. So now let me show you what a bad one would definitely look like. So you run the leak down test and then you get this kind of result. To me, anything that's red is bad. So if you guys can notice, we have over 80% loss of volume on this specific cylinder. So now our job as a technician is, where the hell is it going, right? So you have a couple of different options. Remember, your cylinder has access to the PCV or the oil, has access to exhaust, has access to intake, and also has access to coolant. Not that we want access to coolant, but it has access to it. So one of the things you could do here is you can remove the thermostat, the radiator cap. If you see any bubbles coming out of the radiator, that usually indicates a cracked block or a blown head gasket. We don't have any bubbles coming out of there, so we would say that that is okay. The next thing you would want to do is to remove the dipstick. If you remove the dipstick or the oil fill cap and you see any smoke or noise coming out of here, then you know for sure that it's piston rings. The other step, and I learned this from one of our instructors, is using a glove. If you take a glove and you slide it over the exhaust and the glove inflates, then that's telling you that you have an exhaust valve that's staying stuck open. The other one would be to remove the air intake boot or a vacuum hose in order for you to hear if you have air loss through an intake valve. So what we did is we removed this vacuum hose right here, and if you guys can, the moment that I put my finger over it, you can hear a change in noise. So this is telling us that this intake valve on cylinder number 3 is open, and that's allowing the pressure that I'm putting into number 3 to go into the intake. If I was diagnosing this car and I have this same result, right here at this point is I'm taking the valve cover off to see if these valves are adjustable. If they are not, that's an indication that more than likely this head is coming off or a valve job. And that's it, guys. Again, you guys could tell these tests are not that difficult. And with this test, you're gonna pinpoint exactly where the problem is.